Hey, this is Jay.
And this is Chelsea.
Welcome to the Shifting Perceptions podcast.
We are bringing you inspiration to live a more creative lifestyle because our favorite people are the ones that choose the path less traveled. Hello, everyone. It is Chelsea Alders. This week's interview is with local New Jersey native Quincy Mumford. We have known Quincy since he was a 16-year-old kid playing in taco joints. So this month's release of his oh-so-soulful single, ThankYou, off his forthcoming EP titled EveryWednesday, which has reached almost 400,000 streams in 4 weeks, I might add, has completely blown our minds. Not only is this a phenomenal new direction and sound for Quincy, but through our conversation, we realize it's the sound he has always been searching for. In this episode, we discuss Quincy's decision to wipe his entire musical history on iTunes clean and start fresh with this funky and soulful new album. We touch upon everything from the business side of being an artist, neglecting your art, being true to yourself and finding that sound, and what it is like working with other people to make that vision happen. I could not adore Quincy and his family more. This interview means so much to us. We are so excited for you to get to know Quincy the way we do. Let's jump in.
Hey, we are here with Quincy Mumford. What's up, Quincy?
What's up, guys?
Hello. So, Quincy, we have a million questions. I know it's been a really busy week for you, but first of all, just wanted to say it's kind of weird because you're like a grown-up now, huh?
I am.
I think it takes a little bit for us to get used to, that's for sure. So we've known Quincy since he was 15?
I think so. 15, 16, yeah.
Do you actually know how we met? We were talking about this.
I think MySpace, right?
Oh, man. I think
was it MySpace?
It might be, actually.
Yeah, it could be.
I think we were trying to think of it, and I think we heard of you. I think I heard of you first from Vince Tronick at the surf shop.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got to get in touch with Quincy. And then I grabbed your card, and I think I either messaged you on MySpace or something. And then
The first time we saw you was at Manasquan Surf Taco. You're like sitting in the corner playing a little gig. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which like no one does gigs at Manasquan Surf Taco, so it was like really funny that someone was there anyway.
I had a deal with them where they sponsored me back in the day, and I was kind of
for like free tacos?
Yeah, pretty much. It was free tacos for, I'd say life, but I don't think I can get free tacos anymore. Yeah, and I would just go and play all their stores. And
that's awesome. I actually remember being there, and then I remember somehow we met his dad. His dad is there.
Yeah.
Of course, your dad is always nearby.
And then there's a show you were selling art at, and I think I was playing, right? It was
there's
first time we officially met.
So many like gigs we've done together. I want to dive into that. We'll definitely have to do some John Pearson talk later, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So, we mentioned your dad. Actually, your parents are amazing. We've come to know them and you like family, and this has just been such a trippy ride for all of us, right? And your parents are such supportive people, such cool people, and they have such a good balance between just good hugs and family vibes and pure Jersey style hustling. Your parents are workaholics, or formerly, they just retired.
Yeah, workaholics.
So, knowing you guys and seeing it from an outside perspective, there's this side of the Mumfords, the hustlers, the workaholics, busting your butt, going from gig to gig, and you kind of grew up with that mindset. And then your mom is just so sweet and cuddly, and you want to just hug her. She's just such a great person. Can you talk about how your upbringing has affected your ability to be doing what you're doing, and your work ethic and your creative style and everything? How does that put you here?
Yeah, great question. My parents are amazing individuals, and they are even more amazing together as a team. I grew up viewing my dad almost as this is for the 90s babies, as Tito from Rocket Power, if you've ever seen Rocket Power.
I was not expecting that.
He was the wise Hawaiian who always had these things to say, these sayings, or these different sayings and things that made completely no sense. He would say just the elephant's ear is like the inside of a universe or something. And I'd be like, I don't know what that means, but somehow I would completely understand what he meant. So I always had these great lessons in life.
So what does that mean so everyone can understand?
That one I just made up. But
okay.
But there were other interesting ones. But I always understood what he meant. So I always had these great lessons growing up. And my parents always taught me to be respectful, to be humble, and to follow your dreams. My dad always called it Mumford's Law. And my mom always taught me to love. And I grew up with so much love in the house. And that really rubbed off on me to do active charity work or just be involved in my community and always be conscious of people around me. And I think that rubbed off onto my music in creating really positive, uplifting music that is hopefully making a difference somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I feel like, so we're all from Jersey. That's like, I feel like we actually don't talk about that a lot on this podcast yet.
Jersey Shore, what?
Yeah, and I think the Mumfords in general have been like a big Asbury family. You guys have been a part of this crazy change in that
before
community.
It was Asbury,
before it was
quotes.
What it is now. But talk about like that communication with your parents as far as like, where did that start? Were you like, I just want to play guitar? Or like, where did this music thing, or did they push you towards like, learn something? Or where did this all start?
Yes, my parents actually never really pushed anything on me. They always let me have the free spirit and discover things of my own and things that I had interest in. And of course, when I was a kid, they signed me up for t-ball just to try it. And sports were definitely not my thing.
Jay's tried out t-ball too.
I hated it.
I would actually.
I was pro t-ball for the record. I was pretty good at it when I was a kid.
I would miss the ball off the top of the t-ball when all it has to do is it just stays there. And I remember that.
I could picture
it up
that
and I
as like
threw
this
it.
little lanky kid.
Throw it. Yeah,
it was bad. It was really bad. So actually was a gymnast for a while. I had a lot of energy, and so my parents helped me pursue that until I was, I started really getting into music. The reason I got into music is because of my parents. They were such big music fans. The amount of concerts my dad saw before I was even born was amazing, and he always had music whenever we take family trips. They would always have music playing in the car. And
did your parents play an instrument at all? Like
no,
they didn't.
No. Okay. They are not musical at all.
Okay.
But he always played Name That Tune in the car and stuff. So I got to know a lot of different kinds of music, which I guess is how I got into it. When I was 9, I was like, I want to play guitar.
And what was your dad's like number one genre in the car?
Classic rock.
Yeah.
Classic rock and reggae, actually.
Yes. True Jersey boy. Good
yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So then guitar was your first musical choice. That's where you started.
Yeah. I wanted to learn how to shred the guitar. I wanted to play in a punk rock band.
At what age was this?
I was 9.
9, okay.
9, yeah.
So it wasn't like to get chicks per se at 9.
No, I was very much like, I just want to dress all black and wear spike bracelets and listen to the Misfits and throw things and smash things and
So wait, how did that like transmute into like the mushroom art covered album and like your positive vibes, and like how do you go from like a punk rock kid wearing spiked bracelets to like peace, love, and happiness and good vibes?
Evolution, as they say.
Okay. If you believe that sort of thing.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just started listening to more music. I mean, I started with the classic rock and the reggae, so that was always kind of in my blood. And then I kind of really got into like the Misfits and Rancid and all these punk rock bands, and that was definitely a fad. That was just something that I did for a while, and then I heard my first Jack Johnson record, and I was like, "This is
like
dope."
The first album was like,
actually, no.
maybe,
I heard In Between Dreams was the first record I heard. My mom bought it. We were on the car on the way to Vermont, I think, when I was a kid, and I heard that, and I was like, what is this? Like, these songs are so simple, so catchy. I immediately understand what they're about. How am I, what is this? And then, so I got an acoustic guitar, and I started writing songs, and
that was actually, I remember a conversation with you early on that you knew who ALO was, and that was like a shocker to me, that any 16-year-old kid, because really that, like maybe Jack Johnson, but for the most part, deeper into that genre.
Yeah.
Kids didn't know those songs at all. So.
And loved ALO. And they were a huge influence in the beginning. And I still love them and listen to them. I remember having drunken conversations with Zach Gill outside of a New York City venue,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me all about his kids, and we sat down on milk crates. I mean, it was straight out of a movie. It was amazing. I love them, and I know
Yeah,
you
he's
guys have a
pretty amazing.
big connection to Zach. and the
Yeah,
band.
when I was on tour with them like in '07. It was like, so I think it was cool for all of our circle of friends, because it was like by me going there and seeing the stuff that you're doing. I think what's great about the camaraderie that our little Jersey Shore posse has is like we celebrate each other's victories really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like the good vibes thing. Like, staying on the topic of the good vibes thing, I don't know if I've ever asked you this before. I think I've talked about these topics with your mom in depth, but recently, like a week or two ago, we were talking about your new album, and like I had heard a couple of the songs you put out there, and they're amazing. Everyone should check it out. But like I was like, so what is different about this for you as the artist? And one of the first things you said, which is what you always tend to say, is like, oh, positive vibes and all that. Like, so like it kind of begs the question, like, did you experience bad vibes that is making you push so hard towards the other end of the spectrum, or has it just always been like, yeah, everything's great?
This was probably what, high school for you? So like, what did that was that? I mean, these are all really young life experiences for you to be hitting.
The reason I ask that is because like, as a for instance, in my life, so like Chelsea and I are really into yoga, right? And like, the more you get into like something like yoga, the more you realize that half the people there, let's say, making up a statistic, are there because they truly are like this bohemian floating through life and running through fields of flowers type people. And the other half are people that are like recovering broken people that really just need it. And so like, I think people, that are creatives that push towards the positive vibe thing, it's either because they're the ones running through flowers and fields of flowers, or because they've gone through some tough things in their life. Which one is it for you?
To be honest, I think it's a little bit of both. One, because I think it's in my makeup to be a positive person. I've always been that way. And even Malin laughs at me, my wife, because I'll take any crappy situation and just find the one thing to be like, well, but this is okay. So I always try and find that the good in things, and I think that's just always been part of my makeup. But like anybody else, especially a creative mind, there's so much going on in my head all the time, and like for example, there's always a song playing. Like there is a theme song to every thought that I have.
What's the song right now?
Right now, it's this song that's stuck in my head called "You Dear" by Eloise. It's this new song I heard anyway. But it's like it plays between every single thought that I have. So there's so much noise going on out there, and that can be really a burden sometimes. As an artist, there's a lot to choose from now that you have so much noise up there, and I think that's where all the creative energy comes from. But it can get really noisy, and that can throw me into a darker place of a lot of self-doubt. Is this song, are people going to really connect with this? What am I doing? Where am I? How far have I gone? And I find myself going into those places, every so often. And when I do, sometimes a lot of big inspiration comes out of that, and bigger songs. And then the mood flips around and it brings me to a better place. So sometimes I feel like I need to go through those processes to shed the old muscle and grow new,
Yeah, I think like as a fellow creative person, like those like down periods, like the frustrations, the self-doubt, the self-chatter that is just like an a-hole person that just talking to you nonstop, like it just seems to be part of it, and you have to kind of be willing to go through that. Are there like certain methods that you might use? Like for me, I like things like yoga, meditation, being with my children, like going surfing or skating or anything like that are really helpful to kind of like cleanse that, to kind of push pause on that chatter. Are there things that you do that help you?
Yeah. Honestly, surfing's a big one. I find that I'm extremely calm out there in the water, and I find that the thoughts really tend to clear, and it's my way to press restart. Even if there aren't waves, just going down to the water and just reflecting for a second and just being there in that moment help to clear some of that and spawn new ideas. And actually, what's crazy is driving really helps me. I get in the car and I drive. Those thoughts really mellow out to a single thought, and I can focus on I actually tend to be really creative. Most of the times that I write my lyrics or melodies is leaving the studio in New York City, coming home. I'm just singing this one line and I'm super creative and I get to block everything else out and I'm focused on one thing. Before I know it, I'm home.
Yeah, the car's my spot too.
Yeah.
Wait until you have kids in it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a whole nother process.
You took away my spot.
More noise.
I know. Well, so just to get to it, and then we'll, talk more about the history. You have this amazing new song.
Thank you.
It's doing really, really well.
New
It's been a
album,
really
actually,
big
right?
week. Yeah. So the new album's coming out.
The EP will probably drop February.
Okay. So we have known you through a lot of musical phases, from big bands to doing stuff solo to hearing you do covers to so many different phases of your career.
Yeah.
This is a brand new chapter for sure. So what inspired this giant jump? Like, this is a really new sound for you.
Yeah. I think my whole musical career thus far has been searching for the sound that I have now. I've gone through a lot of different stages and different sounds and genres, and I was really looking for something that was true to myself, but also could speak to a mass audience. I've always liked pop music. I've always liked popular music in general, catchy melodies and things like that. But I was always too afraid to pigeonhole myself and say, oh, well, I got to go for this because, that's what people want to hear. Or I want to stay away from that because I want to be unique and I want to do these. I'm going to blend these genres. Well, yeah, I didn't do anything until I was authentically myself. And once I allowed myself to do that, I was able to create these new songs, write them. And another big part of it was meeting my my musical partner and my producer and now manager, Jano,
Awesome.
in New York City. And
you said that was a big shift. You met him.
Yeah, we just hit it off immediately from the beginning. And he taught me so much about music production and about the industry because he's been very successful himself. And he's kind of taken me under his wing and helped me really execute my vision into creating the music.
Yeah, well, it worked. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
awesome.
so much.
I think that's actually you touched upon one of our favorite topics. I think one of the most shocking moments in Jay's art career, as far as being out there in public, because he's been an artist his entire life, was we were out somewhere and someone was like, "Oh, that's look, that looks like a Jay Alders wave," and he was like, "Talking about?" Like, it was so shocking to him because he didn't realize that he had found his style. And I think every artist is like, someday I'll find my style. And it's the same with musicians.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a process. And then when you realize it, it almost can feel incredibly terrifying, right? Because now you're in this.
You're vulnerable now.
Yeah.
Because
they
this is
figured me
authentically yourself. And you're putting that out there to everyone. And it's terrifying, but also extremely rewarding and uplifting.
Yeah, I think with the topic of finding your style, I'm sure you come across musicians asking you these kinds of questions too. It's such a worthy thing to talk about, and it's for me, I found once I realized that I found a style, and then you get comfortable with it, you realize, okay, now I'm almost feel pressure to emulate the new style that I made up. So it's almost like you're emulating yourself at some point, and then you have to kind of reinvent your style again. And you see that with musicians all the time. They come out with an album and you're like, oh, but it doesn't sound like your first album. I'm so mad at you. And it's you don't realize from the creative point of view, you have to keep doing that thing that's not safe and that's not comfortable. And so now you found this new style, and who knows, a couple of years from now, you might be now I have to find another style. And that it's just the ability or willingness to speak fluently with that.
It was scary because I took down all my previous music. I wiped everything, which is
really
years and years of music. I took everything down, all my old logos, old pictures, and I have a new brand and a new image and a new logo and all these things. I just wanted to come in. I wanted to shed the old one. I was like, this is me. I want people to know it. Starting from here on, this is it. Let's do this.
Is it weird, saying it out loud or saying it to yourself, okay, this is me? Because it's once you say that, then you labeled yourself in then you've almost in a weird way pigeonholed yourself in a new pigeonhole, right?
Right.
Like this is the new me. Now this is how you should identify with me. How have you thought about that paradigm at all? Like,
yeah, well, I think I'm still developing that.
Yeah.
So right now it's more exciting because there's new content to be built. I want people to really understand who I am and how I live on a day-to-day basis and feel like they can really understand me, so that they can connect that much more with the music, understand where I'm coming from. So I'm still developing that in the sense of I know who I am, but how can I show that to everybody how I am? The music is there, and that is authentically myself. How can myself as a brand, people really understand who
so
I
funny.
am?
Jay just gave me this talk the other day because I ran into someone, and just as a doula, she was like, knew everything. She wasn't my client. She just knew everything about me and Jay and whatever. And he said, sometimes you just have to create that other side that's like, this is the gift I'm giving the world. And then everything else is like mine, and it's over here. And it's an interesting parallel to create, I think, as creative people, is compartmentalizing those parts of your brain. But the branding is fun. Like, that part should be exciting. And you're giving the world, like, this is who I want you to be a part of within myself, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it looks good. You did
Thanks.
good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So talking a little bit about the history, I feel like, sorry, Siri wants to participate in that one.
Shout out to Siri.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we have been a part of tours up and down the East Coast. I feel like there was probably about 3 years there where we were sort of colliding on and off with Jay's art and your music. At the time, it was 5 people in your band. How many?
Yes.
5.
Uh-huh.
So Quincy took on, and his parents took on, the giant chore of putting 5 teenagers in a van.
Yep.
And letting you go up and down the East Coast.
Yeah.
Which is, as a parent now, because I wasn't at the time, I'm not so sure about it, but
would you let me hang out with you?
No, not back then.
Yeah, nope. But we had a couple really awesome collisions. So we had one big trip that this really amazing investor decided to throw together a totally rained out situation in Florida, but that we all got to fly down.
Which was like cool. So to preface that, it was it felt, I don't know, to me at least, it felt like magical.
Yeah.
Because it was like you and your career was taking off, my stuff was taking off. At the time, it was like Echo Movement and like a bunch of these like Jersey Shore based friends, and then like, you know, not so local but still friends, like The Movement.
They
were
there,
on tour
right?
with, and we did this tour, and it was like the guys from, I think, Survivor, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger.
And like Dick Dale was headlining.
Yes.
And it was like, I remember we had some, like from my point of view, we had some sort of a gig the night before.
I think we were all at Donovan the night before, is what I want to say. It was either Donovan or G Love or something.
Some kind of thing the night before. And then I remember going to like Atlantic City Airport, like in the middle of the night, and like getting on a plane to go to Florida to this other event. And then somehow all of us landed in like a limousine.
Yeah, I think we drove a limousine together. We were in a limo together with your dad.
Yeah.
And we were like,
how did we get that?
Someone sent a limo for us to Orlando.
I feel like a lot of our stories involve like Quincy saying, how did we get here?
I actually think you slept the whole... I don't remember you being awake for the limo situation.
I don't...
It was a late... I mean, I really don't think we slept. I think it was a straight through. So we got down to Port St. Lucie.
Yeah.
And we pull up, and we literally just trusted that whoever was running this show got us a place to stay. And we did the gig. And then in the middle of the night, someone drove us the following night to this place. And we get out, and we wake up in the morning, and we realize we're in like a 3-bedroom...
tropical paradise.
It's like a back
bedroom.
guest house to a man, like this gigantic million mansion.
Shout out to John Pearson.
Yeah.
JP.
And we all just are like wide-eyed wandering around. Like how did
where
we
are
land here? Yeah, it was amazing. And we ended up, so Quincy was only supposed to be staying one day.
Right.
And we had a long talk with his parents to convince,
my dad left. My dad left after the gig.
Right.
And I stayed, and I was supposed to go home the next day.
Yes. And in the middle of the night, we begged I think we actually got another gig, too. That was one of the things. We got a gig with John. John is having a house party.
Right. So my dad was like, okay, stay a day, or maybe it was 2 more days or something. And then
we extended
like 4 in the morning or something.
I was supposed to get on the flight in 2 hours.
Yeah. That's right.
I was supposed to be the responsible one.
We were still up
on the phone. Quincy's like, here, you talk to him.
Oh
And
my
I was
God! I promise
definitely
I'm a
not sober.
responsible adult. With
Do you
my
remember
children
that
these
John Pearson, the owner of the house that we were staying at?
days. He owns a big car dealership. That was his claim
He
to
owned
fame.
like every car
And he was a
dealership.
musician.
And it had this beautiful house with palm trees and
parrot that
piers
danced.
that
Parrot
went
that
out.
wandered around.
Went out to the water, and so he got on the phone. You were like, I'll never forget it.
I'm so sorry, Debbie. This is like the worst.
We wake my parents up, my dad up in the middle of the night, and get on the phone and, hi, this is John Pearson. I think your son is a really outstanding young man, and we really appreciate his work he's done down here. He played great today. We believe we have some great opportunities for him.
Yeah.
We'd like to extend
Can
his
we keep
stay.
him?
I will pay for everything. Don't worry about the flight. Everything is on me. No worries. My dad goes, yeah, can I speak to my son
Yeah,
again?
a hard no.
And he goes, you're coming home.
Get on
and
the
then
plane.
hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A good
Somehow
parenting
we
move.
convinced him, though. He
The first
stayed.
time we did.
Yeah.
We did. And then
The second extension didn't happen.
I think
Okay.
calling at 4 a.m. was really the issue.
I guess the I don't know if there's a point to that story, but it was an awesome story. But was that like, in your mind, your perspective, was that sort of time period kind of magical for you as well? For me, it kind of felt transformative to kind of be going through all these big launches that we all took together.
Yeah, I think I felt a little bit like a rock star. I was hanging out with these people that were so cool and inspiring and older than me and liked me for me
Had to
and
throw
didn't
the
see
older
me.
part in. Thanks.
Well, hey,
I'm kidding.
but
We're
you
older.
guys
That's
accepted
okay.
me. You didn't treat me like a kid, which I thought was really really nice. And you
Which,
were
by the way, in the end, your mom actually said that's why she liked us so much. She
Yeah.
respected you and treated you like a
yeah,
man.
like a friend, like an equal, and I think that's amazing. And I think everybody should be more like you guys.
Oh, thanks, bro.
So yeah.
I mean, you always have like some people are just beyond their years, and you've always had like, even though we've had so many like goofy, moronic moments together, like
Sure.
skateboarding up and down the street at like 4 a.m. and
You
like
need
just
those too.
dumb stories we can't talk about. But like, aside from that, you've always had that kind of old soul quality about you, which like, can you talk about the kind of like courage that it probably took for you to take this alternate path? I'm sure when you were graduating high school, you probably had, like all of us did, a lot of friends going to college doing like quote unquote real job career pursuits.
Right.
And here you are at the time doing fairly smaller gigs. Like there wasn't necessarily like a contract signed where you knew for a fact it would work out, but you stuck
Right.
it through. Like that must have taken courage.
Yeah. Well, again, every time that I pulled, back into those dark holes, it was always about, will this last forever? Can I make a career out of this? Can I make money doing this? Am I making money right now? At that time, I'm living at home. Everyone else is going off to college. I tried the community college thing and failed my first semester.
Literally
because
failed?
Yeah, at least I think I took a couple classes. I failed 2 classes. My English class, I was like perfect, everything, because I loved writing. But I didn't care to learn about business at that time or whatever other, math classes or things I had to take. All I wanted to do is make music. So that year I got really lucky and was doing the college circuit a lot and was making fantastic money.
Which is like ironic because you chose, I'm not going to go to college.
Right.
But I'll make money off
Yeah, you're
of
like,
you.
I'm going to have the college pay me instead.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
So that's what I did for a year, and I made great money. And then I did it kind of the following year, and then things, they went up and down every record that I made.
Were you still with the full band at that point, or was this solo stuff?
Yeah, that was all solo stuff. The college things, I was still playing with the band on and off.
Okay.
I think my entire career has always been that. There's my solo gigs and there's my band gigs.
So album-wise, the albums in the past have been with the band,
not
all solo?
Not entirely. There's been musicians and some of my band members playing on records, but for the most part, it's been like studio musicians.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And this one was definitely solo. It's all you. It's awesome.
Yep.
So after college circuit, when things start to get scary again, was this when it was like, I'm going to start to look at a new brand and sort out what I want to do next?
No, I think every time that I made a new record or whatever, I was always like, all right, here's my new record. Here it is. And, and here's my new record. And,
yeah.
And that happens over and over again. And then there's band members coming in and out and complications and relationships. I met my wife, right after high school.
Yeah.
And then my wife is, if you don't know this, my wife's from Sweden, and we had this whole, her leaving 2 months after meeting her and traveling back and forth between the countries, and then trying to figure out a way to be together, and then trying to figure out a way to get married and have a life together, and then, okay, here, come together, live together, figure that out, and then all these things. So for the next couple of years, it was like constant change. I even made a record called "It's Only Change," and it's all about like just my life. Just I'm getting older, and everything's going really fast, and trying to maintain.
Yeah,
that.
I don't even know if you're getting older. It's just you just were really ahead of the curve on all these
Yeah.
things. Still remember that text that you were getting married, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
it's crazy!"
married.
And everyone was like, "You are crazy," and here we are. We're about to be 6 years married, 8 years together,
already.
and life is incredible, and I couldn't ask for anything else.
Is that something like from your parents that you learned? Because I would generalize this and say most guys touring colleges as a rock star, tall, handsome guy, nice little goatee. I would imagine most people on their top list would not be like, I'm gonna get married.
Right.
Most people would maybe choose the opposite end of that spectrum, which with like the fiery gates of hell and like crazy stuff happening, like.
Right.
But you're like, no,
He's
I'm gonna
referring
get
to
married.
himself for the record.
Well, yeah, I am. I took quite a while to like come to the realization of like
Sure.
my priorities, and like in that aspect, I'm like envious of your like feet firmly planted on the ground, and like I always tell Chelsea that's like one of my bigger regrets in life is not like realizing that sooner. You know, obviously we would have different children had I made those choices, and I would
Right.
never wish that. But like, it is admirable that someone in your shoes with your opportunities would choose to like settle in at a moment like that.
Yeah. I had no choice, man. My heart was too connected, and when anytime I ever thought about, well, what's the other option besides not being together? And I couldn't. It was either the next couple years be really challenging, or never see her again, and I couldn't choose that. There was just no way.
Yeah, it's just like such a mature decision to make at that point. Like,
Oh, well, thank you. It was.
yeah.
I mean, it was tough. Nothing about any of that process, even to just her recently becoming a citizen last year. The whole thing was really frustrating, but it made us so much stronger,
Yeah.
and we learned so much, and we grew up so much from that whole thing. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Wow.
So I
I'm like
feel
speechless
like,
after that.
yeah. Well, I feel like Jay and I have
Chelsea's
always.
getting teared up a little bit.
Well, I don't know. I mean, knowing you guys through that process, I think everyone was doubting you. So like
Yeah.
seeing how that went down. I mean, even talking to your parents, they were like, I don't know, we'll see, and it was
Right.
scary. So to be on the other side of that's a big deal. And we certainly love Melissa. But yeah, so fast forward. So we survived John Pearson's. And then I feel like there was a big jump, like almost you searched through that college circuit and all of that. And then I feel like the next show I saw you at, it was like the album release at, not the Pony, the other one.
Oh,
Wonder Bar?
Wonder Bar.
Yeah, that was for Speak.
Yeah. And
That was the first time you met Malin.
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And you
because
had
we were in
like
Florida
this
for a
awesome,
couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had left for a little while. You had this awesome following. You had kind of collected these people that were now your people.
Yep.
And so I know with Jay, when he has his people, sometimes he'll release a painting that people are like, I don't know. So how does that feel with the growing pains right now with your following? I mean, I know you haven't had like a live show to feel that out, but
Yeah.
what's the response?
The response has been overwhelmingly positive. It's crazy because I've never had this amount of attention on anything I've released before. Obviously a lot of new people like posting my stuff all the time. People I don't know, people posting videos of them dancing to my song
Oh,
or whatever,
cool.
like, ballet dancing, all these really cool things. I've never experienced this before. People that I have no idea across the country and across the world posting and sharing my stuff and talking and connecting. And but the cool thing is my supporters from over the years, even the really, really early ones I've seen, have commented on some things. And I recognize them by name because they've been to so many shows and whatnot. And they're commenting, "This is amazing. You deserve everything." So they're still with it,
That's
But
awesome.
through every chapter that I've gone through with my music, I've dropped a ton of people that have just like they're over it. They, whatever, they move on. And sometimes they come back through and they say, "Oh, this is what you're doing now. This is really cool." And I've seen some of that, but it's all about just growing, and the ones that believed it from the beginning will stick around.
Well, it's been a long career so far, and
10 years I've been doing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
totally crazy.
10 years.
And you're still not the age that I was when I met you.
All right, I'm 26, and I'm 26.
That's probably around when I met him.
Yeah, probably earlier, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting married, perhaps one day in the future this will be worth some money, but we have a bootleg of Quincy singing 99 Problems at our wedding.
Do you have a video?
I don't know if we actually have it in
For the record, I'm not going to say like all the curse words, but I remember afterwards Quincy looking at me like it's deer in headlights, and he's like, one of my prize moments is looking your mother square in the eye and saying, "Lick my whole." He's like, "Thanks for that, guys." But it was acoustic. It was brilliant.
It was as we got married. We just got married, walked back down the aisle, and we had Quincy singing acoustic 99 Problems, unedited.
So
look up the lyrics. He sang them all.
Amazing.
It was good.
That was epic. So
that was such a fun wedding.
Oh my God. It was
we
great.
had so much fun.
Oh, I love hearing that. We certainly had a good time.
Gosh.
We missed yours because I was having twins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't it like a day later or something like
No,
that?
you had summer.
Was it?
It was like within a day or two. When did you get married?
What's your date?
Well, so technically we're married.
But like
we celebrate November 24th, but the wedding was the following year, so 2000.
Uh-oh, you forgot.
13th? Summer's 13.
13.
Okay, so it's summer.
Yeah.
Okay, so we missed 2 weddings because of that.
Man.
Yeah. Fun.
Speaking of some lyrics, so your new music not only is different like musically, but lyrically.
It's a little sexier, Quincy.
Yeah, a little John Legend thing going on. Like,
yeah, it is definitely sexier. I think I'm less afraid to express that. I love writing love songs for my wife. But this song right here was it's called "ThankYou," and it's really a dedication to all women, to celebrate women, and to state that every woman is amazing the way that they are, and that's what this song is all about. It's just love and embracing.
So what about the rest of the album? Are you staying on topic, or what else is
the whole album about chicks?
There are a couple love songs, but no, this next tune we're actually releasing a song October 19th, and then another single November 16th, and the next one is called "Great Escape." And I'm very excited. This is my favorite song out of the whole EP.
Wow.
And this song is all about exactly what it says: your great escape. There's so many obstacles in life and so many distractions and things that can hold you back from what you want to do, and you need to find the things in life that get you away, get you that escape, like we were talking about earlier. The yoga and whatever else. Music is my escape, and my wife is my escape. And those are when I'm doing those two things, I'm truly in the moment, and
I love that. Jay and I often will talk about that relationship with having a loved one. So they're married or in a relationship, and then how that parallels to relationship with your creativity. And I feel like until recently, I didn't really understand so much that sometimes his relationship with his art is far more in depth than our relationship, and that's totally okay to step in and out of. And not that I didn't understand it, I didn't have it. So now I feel like the birth stuff is the first time I'm like, this is my creativity and I'll see you later.
Right.
And it's totally acceptable to step into that. And relationship-wise, it's really cool when you find someone that you're like, this is okay. I get that you're going to be having to do that. And when you find someone that gets that, it's hard to find.
Melinda didn't understand that in the beginning either. She didn't understand the relationship that I had to music and how deep it is. And how over the years she began to understand that and gain more respect for the creative process, and she knows you need to go do that now. And I'll be pacing around the house, and she's like, you just need to go write. You need to go do whatever you got to do. It's
when
fine.
You actually embrace it as a partner, it's comforting because you realize you have a fix. I think that's all, is that we want to be able to know when it's needed. And for me, I'm it sounds so bad, but I'm go in the basement, I'll see you in like
you'll
5
see
hours.
me, you'll like call me out because I'm sitting there like doodling in the air or something.
Yeah,
and
I'm like,
not
you've got it in
realizing
your
she's watching
head.
me.
You're not actually here. Just like go do it, and then he comes back like a new person. So
Melinda does this thing now where she'll stop me. She'll be talking about something, and I'll just be staring into space, and she goes, "What are you thinking about right at this moment?" And I will say something, and she'll be like, "How? Where? How did you? Where do you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just there, and I'm focused on it right now. I'm so sorry. It happens." But she's like, "Go do your thing."
yeah, it's just like that compartment of the brain needs attention, and it's saying, "I need you over here right now. Sorry." And sometimes like understanding that there's really no way to like prevent that is the best way. That doesn't mean that we don't get pretty pissed off about it sometimes.
Oh, I know. I know. No.
I'd like to know more about like creative process because I love talking about that so much. So like a couple of questions come to mind to start this off with. So as you evolve as a musician, I'm trying to compare it to my own process. And like, so for me, there's multi levels, right? So I guess mechanically I could learn how to maybe use a paintbrush better, more fluently. And then there's like perceiving light, for instance, or using color better. There's all these different elements, and music's obviously the same way. So like, do you feel like your lyric writing and your musical melodies, your riff writing, all those, do they kind of follow a similar trajectory towards evolving? Or do you find like one part is easier or one part may lag the other? How do they always hang out in the same spot as you're creating, or you're like, oh, musically is easy but lyrically is hard, or vice versa?
It's crazy, man. It's never the same. Every song is completely different. I mean, sometimes they'll go back and do the same kind of pattern, but each song is completely different on how I approach it. Not purposely, it's just how it comes to me. So this latest song, "Thank You," that I just put out, came from a guitar riff. The bow, down, 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 down. That was just a riff that I was playing over and over again. And then I went on, like I was saying before, I made a demo and put like a drum loop behind it and added a bass line and just started writing, and all of a sudden it just came out. Like the melody was there and it just wrote itself. So when I brought it to the studio, it was already developed, and the only thing you need to do is just up the production and give it the same feeling that the lyric and the melodies delivered. But like I said before, I'll go into the studio and spend the whole day there in the city, and we'll make a beat, we'll get inspired, we'll listen to music. The first thing we do is we'll sit down and just listen to a ton of music and just get inspired and listen to what people are doing, and then we make a beat, and I'll add some chords, and then on the way home, I drive home from the city, a melody will just come to me. I'll be in that zone where I'm not thinking about anything else, and I'll sing the melody. And by the time I get home, I'm sending my producer my voice memos of all the songs. And I probably shouldn't be writing lyrics while driving, but I'm like
for all the kids at home.
Yeah,
Don't
don't write songs and drive. But that's just what happens. 9 times out of 10. It's never in the same place. It's always I'm just pulling lyrics from here, a melody from here, a chord progression from here, and it's mixed and matched every time I put it together.
Do you find it like easier to create when you are like zoning in on it? Like I have to create right now, or is it more like you have to be not thinking about it at all?
No, I can't be stressing about it. The worst thing to me is being in the studio, just coming up with a really sick beat, finding a melody and being super stoked on it, and then just sitting there trying to write lyrics to match the way that the emotional feeling that you feel from the beat, from the musicality of it, and from your melody. And you're just trying to jam lyrics to make it work. And it's like, it just doesn't feel good. And I need to be away from that, and no stress and no pressure to write the sickest line on the fly. I need to be stress free. And that's when the lyrics come out.
So we were talking to our friend Will in the episode before yours, Will Connor, and we were talking about, he was actually talking about how fortunate he is to have another business that's like very successful, and that kind of supports his music side of things. I don't have that. You don't have that. There's different schools of thought on that. Sometimes people will say, I don't want to, sacrifice my music or my art, so I'll have this other job to support it. People like us, we just grind through and hustle. Is there ever a time where the business side is just either overwhelming, annoying, whatever, and you're like, why can't I just, have this other thing happening where I can just create music and not worry about, is it doing well, is it marketed right, blah blah blah. Like, how do you deal with the two sides of that, the left right brain, business side Quincy, music side Quincy?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to separate them. I think that's definitely key, because when those start to combine, then it takes away from the creative side of it. The business side tends to swallow up the creative side when you get
stifle it for
yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my whole career thus far, besides this last song, has been constantly like a frustrating process about how to get the business side of things, how to get the connections right, how to set up the right spreadsheet or this or that. How do I pitch correctly? How do I get these people to respond to me and pay attention to me? And that has been the struggle since day one. And then number two is like, how can I make money? If I want to continue to do this, this is the only thing that I do. I only do music.
Mm-hmm.
I teach. The only other job I have is teaching songwriting lessons out of my house. So it's all music 24/7. That's how I make my living. So that side of it is frustrating. It's like, how can I make a living doing this? And what I end up having to do is play these small gigs in restaurants, the back of restaurants that I don't promote, I don't put out there.
Mm-hmm.
I just do them strictly for money. And then, I'm there playing in the back of a room, and I'm doing this whole solo looping thing, and I'm beatboxing and programming and doing all this cool stuff, singing harmonies, and I'm like totally in it. And then when the song's over, I look up and nobody's looking at me. Nobody's paying attention.
Super into it.
Nobody claps, and I'm like rocking out. I'm so pumped right now. I'm having a
You're getting
blast.
paid to practice though, which is great, right?
Yes, but it's
frustrating.
It's not filling you up exactly.
No, but what I have to do is I need to take that and put that in the compartment of like, this is my business. This is what I'm doing. I get to practice here, but this is how I'm making my money right now. Hopefully I won't have to do this forever, but this is what I have to do. Because a lot of times that brings me back to those dark holes. Like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here playing for a bunch of people that don't care or appreciate it?
That's like something important to like drill into people, like creative people listening at home, whether like they're writing and playing music, they want to do visual arts. Like, people are only seeing like the social media part of this. They're seeing Quincy on tour. They're seeing me do something cool. They're seeing someone's book get published, and they're like, I'm sure, some people are like, oh man, I wish it was that easy for me, or like, and it's like, they don't see all of the countless hours that we're like in front of the computer, on the phone, stressing out,
or
like
even
worried.
setting up for like a show that's supposed to be big.
Yeah, or
and then
setting
it's like,
up like,
okay, like this is not
Technical difficulties.
Yes,
Yeah.
technical difficulties. That's for sure.
It's terrible.
I mean, like I've done tons of gigs still that are like small little pop-up shop type things, and it's like, it's just, you're paying your dues, like and it's like you have to kind of grind it out in order to do your thing. And it's like, just because you don't post those things on social media doesn't mean you're not behind the scenes like stressing out. Like, there's a lot of days I'm doing the business side of it way more than creative sides,
right?
And do you experience like days like that as well?
Yeah, there'll be days where I don't pick up my instrument, and then I feel bad.
Right.
I feel like
guilty, right?
Yeah,
like,
guilty.
I'm sorry,
like,
guitar.
I'm sorry, man.
Sorry, I neglected
hung up
you
all day. Yeah, but it's part of the game, and hopefully you get to a certain point where that stuff becomes to maybe be a little bit easier, and you can just really focus on the creative things by having a team that can help direct some of those things and take the load off it, so you can really create what you're meant to create.
Well, so let's talk about that team. So I know when we knew you when you were first starting, your dad was like your front man. I mean, not front man musically, but he was hustling for you. It was incredible.
I just got like a vision of him like being the front man musically. I'm sorry.
With his tucked in Jersey Tomatoes t-shirt.
But he hustled for you, and your dad has got the Jersey hustle. Like, he was amazing, and he got you out there. Like, he was working really hard. So I know that, working with your family has its own complications, but as that evolved, and his dad's like a famous chef as well on the side. So there's a lot going on with your dad. But how did that evolve, and where is it now? So what is management style and production and all of that? Like, where you've come a long way.
Sure. So it started with just my dad trying to help out. He owned a business for so many years, so he at least knew how to run a business. That's what he always focused on with me. He's like, I'm never gonna tell you how to sing a song or how to do this or what kind of music to play. I will never get involved with that. I just want to help you get out there and take care of the business side of things. So when I was 15, 16, he knew more than I knew about business, and I knew more about music. So as I developed, so did he, and he helped out, and we, got connections playing in bars and here and there, and then meeting a disc jockey at the radio station and handing him a record and getting it spinned on there, and acting as my manager as the medium between people that were interested in me, whether that's gigs or recording or anything like that. Between them and myself, he was always the medium. And his goal was always just to get me to a certain point where someone else can help and pass on. So I had another manager, Terry Tompkins, which actually is so strange. He just texted me today, and I haven't heard from him in years. Who helped manage me. He was from Philadelphia, and he did a decent job helping develop me. And then that kind of terminated when there got some weirdness happening there, as things can happen when you develop relationships. And then I had the guy, the tour manager for Slightly Stupid, who was managing me for a couple months, which was great because he got us on a couple Stupid tours, which was amazing. But then we decided it was better to be friends. He was too busy doing his own thing. And then now, making this new record, my producer just signed on to be my manager for a while.
That's awesome. I always forget about the Slightly Stupid tours. So obviously, we have a great relationship with Slightly Stupid too. So how old were you when you went on tour with them? I
believe I was at least 21.
Okay.
I was drinking. I know that.
you were drinking. That really matters. Okay.
But they are
great partiers,
but they've made exponential success. Like you feel like each year they don't slow down. Yeah, I mean they're phenomenal, and
such good guys.
That's
too.
exactly it.
Speaking of positive energy, like holy moly.
Yeah, they connect with people and they love who they're working. So like if you're a part of their tour, it's like your family. They treat everyone like gold. So what was that like? Like it was just you, or did you bring anyone on the road?
I had the band. I think 2 different versions of the band for 2 different tours we did with them. It was incredible. I mean, they really treated us with so much respect. We would jam and hang out on the bus after the shows and play music and talk about music and just hang out and party. And they were really nice. I'll never forget. Kyle came up to me and he goes, "Hey, you gonna play My Town tonight?" Do you remember my song, My Town, the first song I ever put out? So, which was hysterical to me because I was like, I wrote that when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And no, we're definitely not playing that. But it was just great that they were supportive and they were super cool. And I got to experience playing in front of sold out huge shows. And we were a bit different musically back then. So it made more sense than it would now. But they were great. They were amazing. The whole experience is amazing.
So who else? Who are your big, like, that was...
so you worked with, like, Blondie, right? You were on tour with her, or did a show with her? Or?
No. So years ago, we were the house band for, I believe it was some sort of award that they're doing for Monmouth County, like Legends. And it was Siobhan Hogan, who is an actress, was in Forrest Gump and a couple other movies. Oh. Felipe Rose of the Village People. Some other guy, I can't remember his name. Bass player, and Deborah Harry, Blondie. So we learned a couple of Blondie songs since she came on and played with us and sang.
That's awesome.
And
which, by the way, we all just saw her at See Here Now, and
good.
She's incredible.
Yeah, that was fun.
She's like not slowing down.
And Jack was surfing at that exact time. So I was watching Jack surf while Blondie was playing.
It
was amazing.
Yeah, I think she's 77 now.
I think we're 73. Oh, she's listening. I know she's listening, of course.
Yes.
Hey, Debbie.
Shout out to Deborah.
But
she's actually a Jersey girl, we found out. I think your dad told us.
From Lincroft.
Actually, right?
Her family owns
We actually watched that with your
Pictures.
parents.
Well, that's actually one of the really interesting things I feel like is when you make it in Jersey, like, it's a big deal. Our music scene is a really big deal.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, you get to play at the Stone Pony as much as you play.
Right.
Like, think about how many bands get to do that. It's not, it's a really big deal in this area. We have an amazing music culture, and it's cool to see, like, Asbury from its bare bones to what it is now. Some of the people literally playing at like the Wonder Bar on a Friday could be, world famous within a couple of years. It's pretty awesome.
That happened with the Revivalists. Did you guys know the
Yes,
Revivalists?
yeah.
So they came through and they played the Wonder Bar. The following year, they played the Stone Pony Summer Stage, almost sold it out, and we opened for them on the Stone Pony Summer Stage.
Sick.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
that's like almost 5,000 people compared to like 350.
Wonder Bar. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
We're really lucky to be here. It's a pretty cool
We
scene
are.
here.
Absolutely.
It's wild. So you've mentioned a lot of people on like your team, from your dad to like managers, producers, people you've worked with. You've come across and worked with a lot of really cool, influential, smart, awesome people. Like, can you pull out a couple of like the best nuggets out of like the 10-year span? Like things like our show is Shifting Perceptions, right? And we're trying to really like focus in on like how people listening to your story can have some takeaways and be like, oh man, I never thought to look at this that way. Like, from all the people you've worked with, I'm sure you've had so many great conversations and like takeaways. Have there been a few that like just really stand out? Like, holy crap, I never thought of it that way before. Like something you'd share with our audience?
Man, that's a deep one.
Jay likes those.
Yeah, it's a thinker. There's been a lot of lessons over the years working with different, especially producers, because when it comes to a producer, it really, it's all about the music. So they're completely heavily involved in the music and how it comes out and how it's produced, how it sounds, how the bass sounds compared to the guitar, and how the drum is, and how the production is, and what your voice sounds like, and what kind of style the groove is, and how the song moves and flows. So working with all these different people over the years, there's so many different personalities that you deal with, and some are better than others. And I've had a lot of lessons on what not to do when it comes to recording an album. I feel like over the years I've been very controlled by producers and what their vision was and what their goals were for the song, and not always considering my feelings or my goals or my perception of how the song should be.
Do you feel like that was just because you were young and inexperienced, or do you just feel like it was manipulative, or how do you feel like that happened?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think in the beginning I was young, so I accepted it because I wanted to learn more. And as I started to learn more and develop my own opinion and my own style of what direction I wanted to go in, there was a lot of people, especially in the beginning, that forced against that. I was like, no, this is how it should be. It was really frustrating, especially for a young kid, being like, no, I'm trying to do this, and someone else pushing back and being like, this is how you should do it.
Yeah, I remember talking to you when you were with the one manager, and I remember you just kind of feeling like everyone saw this in you. Like, everyone saw your vision, but then they thought they knew better. So they thought, like, they all saw this product, and it was like, but we can mold you into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's a cool lesson to learn, because it's like, with each of those, you said, like, maybe it didn't work exactly. And now that you're at this place where you're like, how about I finally do it my way?
Right.
You get 50,000 listens in a week,
Right.
It's like, it's
that
a big deal.
Goes back to what I was saying before, and to answer your question, is that this last producer that I've worked with has truly become a really, really good friend of mine, and is completely transparent. We're completely honest with each other in the production and lyric side of things, in the business side of things. He lets me do what I want to do and helps me get there. He sees my vision and helps portray that and get to where my goals are. For the first time, this is the first time I've really felt that way, where someone helps me execute my vision and does it because he truly sees or agrees with the vision and the path. And
yeah, well, and someone that you respect like that, like you were saying, you heard what he thought was a final take and you hated it, so you went right in to fix it, and his ego was not like, that was cool, like whatever you wanted, that was the goal. Yeah. It's hard to find people like that. I think we, as creatives, because you figure producers and anyone that has come along that wants to like manage or help us out too, they are creative also. And so to find two creative minds that are going to actually sync together
Right.
and work towards the same goal, it's really hard. I mean, everyone has like what they think.
Especially creative people. You
Yeah.
know, we can be the most stubborn sometimes.
No.
It's a tough existence. It is at times, you know.
Because it's such a personal thing. The art that we're making, the music, the art that we're making. It's such a personal thing, and we feel so connected to it. So as soon as it gets in someone else's hands, we're like, well, be careful with that. And
True, yeah.
and so when you find someone to collaborate with, where you both feel like you're in it 50-50, and there's that mutual understanding and honesty and connection there, I'm able to execute what I've always wanted to, and he gets to do his thing. And you know, he has just as much stake in the game as I do, and that's amazing. It's only helping to have two forces pushing forward, and for me, it's the best experience I've had so far as a musician.
So you've had like a lot of goals. Like I know I've had so many conversations, and we talk about like, future stuff and dreams and ideas. Like, do you have in your head like a list of future gigs or milestones or awards or accolades or anything like that, where you're like, when I get to this, if you haven't already, it means I quote unquote like I made it, or things that I'm like I will achieve XYZ?
Yeah, there's a 5-year plan in motion now.
Is it a secret?
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's not a secret. You know, my first step was to start getting some traction on streaming platforms, and together in it'll be 3 weeks tomorrow, we have almost 200,000 streams all across the board.
So cool.
So that was my first thing. I want to get some action there. My next goal is I want this single to get to 1 million in a few months. And then the next thing after that is I want to land an agent to get a support tour. I want to open for somebody and go on tour.
Who might that somebody be? I'm sure you have people in mind.
Tom Mish. I don't know. Do you know Tom Mish?
No. I think I do.
Oh my gosh. He's like my favorite musician ever.
Oh, we'll look it up.
We've been
Young
out of the
kid.
loop since kids, so
It's on tap.
you know what I mean.
That would be amazing. Yeah. And then you know, I have other
Put
goals
him in our
past
show
that.
notes.
Tom Mish.
If you could
Tom
open
Mish.
for John Legend, that would really work out well for me.
That would be amazing.
Okay.
That would be amazing. Yeah, and licensing. I love writing songs, whether they're for myself or for other people or jingles or whatnot.
Have you done that yet?
I've tried to my
Okay.
entire career.
Yeah.
And it's been a struggle.
Yeah, that's
now,
a whole nother business, isn't it? It's like a
Yes.
different side of it.
but it's very lucrative. And so that's actually, when you were talking about before about having a side job, that's what I would want my job to be.
Yeah.
Is to still make music, but to sell it to, pay the mortgage.
Yeah,
So
right.
speaking of like the side job thing, just to touch upon this again, because I think a lot of creative people get stuck in this realm. So now you're married. I know from talking to your wife, there are little babies floating around her head. Like, she's like, oh, someday soon. Like you could kind of see a sparkle in her eye. So with that in the, future, and sometime in the future, I'm not putting a date here, but like, does that sort of pressure, is that being felt on you? Like, I better make X amount more money, or how else can I branch out to like not only support us, but like little future Mumfords?
Yeah, that is 100% a real thought that happens. Not super often, but definitely every once in a while. I think that's always kind of been in the back of my head ever since I've had a wife. Is like how many more years? And she's a little bit more itchy than I am.
She can rent ours anytime. Like, seriously, she's totally fine.
It's crazy when she gets around kids; they're just like, shoo,
I know.
they're
She's
magnets.
amazing.
She's great with kids.
And that's how I met her. She was a nanny when I met her, an au pair. So she's a little bit more ready, but I am too. I'm getting excited. I'm getting a little bit itch. It's still quite a couple years away, but that's the thing I think about often is like, can I do this? Can I support myself? What means can I do to make sure that I can support a future family? And do I want to make it to a certain point before we do that, so that whenever, we have kids and stuff, that is still able, I have enough momentum to be able to go back to it if I need to take a break with having kids and things like that.
Yeah, because it's a tough schedule for you right now, isn't it? It's a lot of gigs. You're working a lot.
Yeah, I am. And when I'm home, I'm either down in my studio making demos or writing songs, or I'm answering emails or on phone conferences or fixing my website or adding this. I'm constantly doing stuff all the time. And then I go and I play gigs at night and then wake up the next morning and do it all over again.
Yeah, it's funny because we joke sometimes that like making it won't really be a financial thing. Making it will be, we finally passed off all those tasks to someone else. Like that'll be the day that it's like, I mean, I feel like I've made it just because I don't have to deal with my website and I don't have to answer all the emails, and it's like all the busy work that wears you down. That's
starting to get lifted from me as I've now just have my new manager and producer. He's taken a lot of the weight off.
That's
to be
awesome.
like, this is how it's done. I'm going to do it now, but here's how it's done so you know. Mm-hmm. So he's constantly teaching me about the music business side of things, but he's taking care of it and outsourcing other people to take care of it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's
which
a big
is
step.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's great. So, what do you think? Want to wrap things up?
Yeah,
you want to ask your famous question?
Well, I mean, with you, this is so we ask everyone, if I had to drop you right back into your childhood kitchen, what's the first thing you think of?
Drop me into my childhood.
This is like a gourmet kitchen too. Like
I know.
Kitchen. Okay, I think of making gavadillos with my mom. She had it. Oh my gosh. Can you eat this now? Yeah, vegans can eat that.
They could probably be made vegan, whatever they are.
They are. It's just dough.
Okay.
Wait, it's dough. No, dough's made with flour.
Flour's okay.
Flour's vegan.
Wait.
Flour's vegan.
Oh, egg. I mean.
Egg. Yeah.
I don't know if they're made with eggs.
But what are they?
Anyway, so they're like gnocchi. You know what gnocchi is?
Yeah.
But it's dough instead of potato.
Oh, okay.
And they were my great grandmother's recipe. And
there's nothing like homemade.
My mom would make them and she'd sit there, and what you do is you take the little piece of dough and you make them like an inch or like 2 inches wide, and then you run it against a cheese grater, so it makes this like pattern in it, and it scoops.
Oh, I've seen those before. Okay.
But I remember making them with my mom, like helping her cut them and roll them against there.
That's awesome.
Like,
I mean, I even have memories from your parents' kitchen. I just feel like it was just filled with herbs and always smelled amazing.
Yeah, I remember being in that trip we took into your Vermont house, snowboarding trip, and I remember your mom like cooking, and it was just like so cool.
She's always pouring wine and telling you to sit while she cooks. It was like my favorite.
The mama juice. Have you had the mama juice?
No. Oh. No, but I'm like all in for Vermont. I think
you're a mama now, so now you need the mama juice.
I'm in mama juice.
Are you getting stoked for snowboard season?
I'm starting to itch. Yeah. I'm excited.
I feel like he now gets more excited about snowboarding than surfing these days. Yeah.
I think these days because it's more predictable, like with the kids.
Right.
And they
snowboarding is easier too. Like and snowboard or summer just learn to ski.
Oh, so cool.
It's nice just being able to get away and like know that when you're ready, the mountain's
there for you.
Yeah.
We're talking about doing a trip this year out west, maybe to British Columbia.
Ooh.
Cool. So yeah, I'm getting excited. I need a good powder.
Yeah, we do Colorado every year because we have to at least get it once.
Awesome.
Yeah. For everyone listening, Quincy is like a ridiculous snowboarder. Like
he's humble.
Like ridiculous. Like I've gone with you and I'm like I've attempted to follow along and I do an okay job. But like you're like, yeah, we'll just do this like jump, and I do a little like the little scope out first, like, okay, where's he taking me? Because like these are like your mountains and you like know them really well, so you just go and fly off, and I like take a peek. I'm like, all right, it's like a 12-foot jump, and I'm gonna pass on that one.
It's cool if you got wrist guards, you're fine.
Do you know that's the only break I've ever had was snowboarding because I was trying to impress Jay.
Yeah, really?
Yep, only one.
It was impressive. I married you.
Yeah, I guess so. Awesome.
Are there other things that anything else that we didn't touch upon?
And where can we find you? Make sure
anything else people like need to know about Quincy or stuff that you're like, why didn't they ask me this great question I prepared for? Like,
no. Just I'm everywhere. If you can remember. Quincy Jones and Mumford and Sons, like those two, if Mumford and Sons was a whole person, it's not just like if they became one person,
they had a baby
with Quincy Jones, then it would be Quincy. That would be me. So if you can remember that, Quincy,
that would be a good-looking child.
Yeah.
I think.
Instagram at Quincy Mumford, QuincyMumford.com. Got tons of new singles coming out over the next couple months.
When's your next biggest show? What's your one you're excited about?
Yeah,
the December show, right?
Yeah, we just released it yesterday, which I'll talk to you guys a little bit about. But it's December 7th at the Stone Pony. It's our 7th annual holiday show. This year we're calling it A Purple Christmas, because we're doing an original set and also a tribute to Prince.
Yes.
With a ton of special guests. It's going to be amazing. You can go on my website for tickets.
Awesome.
It's going to be great.
Everyone listening, you really have to check out like Quincy's music. Like I usually like do this kind of thing after the show when you're like gone, like post-production thing, but like I'll say it in front of you because like we both love you a lot. You're like family to us. You're like super talented on multiple levels. And, you know, your humility throughout all of this and your maturity is just like inspiring. And it's just great to be a part of it for this long. And, you know, like Chels said earlier, we've known you since you're 15. So to see you progress, you know, it's like watching someone in your family do great things. And it's like, we know how hard it is to have that creative grind. So like, thanks for sticking it through and like inspiring people and teaching me some snowboard tricks along the way.
Same, man. I appreciate your guys' friendship over the years. I always loved, like I said before, how you guys treated me like you're equal, but you also were somewhat of a separate parental figures to me in the sense that you really took me in and inspired me and always pushed me, and I've always appreciated that guidance and that friendship. So thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Quincy. Hey guys, thank you for listening to another episode. We hope that you love what we're doing. If you do, please give us a long distance high five by leaving us a review and a rating on iTunes. If you go into the details of the show, you will see a link to leave a review. Also, please click subscribe if you haven't already. Whether you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or Stitcher or Google, click subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you guys would like to follow us on social media and leave some comments or connect, please go to @ShiftingPerceptionsPodcast on social media. All show notes, links, references, etc. will be on shiftingperceptionspodcast.com. If you'd like to see more about me, Jay Alders, and my artwork, please go to jayalders.com or on any social media @jayalders. My amazing wife, Chelsea, can be found on ommamasdoulas.com or on social media @ommamasdoulas or @ChelseaAlders on Instagram. Again, guys, thank you for listening. We will catch you next week. Peace.